welcome to episode 9 of PD's awesome guest panel. My guest today at this time is a blockbuster because I got not just one, not just two, but three guest stars. And my three guest stars happen to create one of, in my opinion, one of the best shows in Comedy Central history. Joined together, they've done many projects, including High School USA. My guest at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you Dave Jeser, Silverstein, and Young, creators, and Jordan, you were creators and producers together.
I think yes, was I creator or producer? I helped develop the show with Matt and Dave, and I designed the characters as well.
I see. Gentlemen, it's a true pleasure because I grew up watching Join Together when I was 14. I'm 30 now, so this is just wow.
That sucks so badly.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so old. Well, thank you for watching.
I wasn't trying to do that, man. I was just saying, like, I'm a longtime fan.
No, we were at Comic-Con before it was even cool to be at Comic-Con. Remember that?
Yeah, sure.
How is everybody today? How are you, gentlemen?
Good.
Yeah, no, this is great. Listen, just to be clear, Jordan had nothing to do with High School USA. I don't want anyone out there in your audience to think we're giving him credit for anything. And in fact, Matt and I barely had anything to do with it. We were just in the room as Dino created an amazing show and the producers around him slowly ruined it.
But if we are to give credit to Jordan, he was an animator on The Simpsons before he worked on Drawn Together. So he is far more accomplished and talented than the both of us, and a much bigger drunk, too. He's also an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And Peter, since you claim to be a giant Drawn Together fan, do you remember the episode where Ling Ling's father was in a coma?
Well, I mean, the only Junji episode, because his father's name is Junji, the only 3 episodes I remember where he was a main character were The Other Cousin, which is one of my favorite episodes, Freaks and Greeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Brat.
I think he was also a main player in the episode, because this is the first episode where he spoke English, because in his first appearance, he didn't speak English. And that was, what was it, Clum Babies.
Oh, my gosh. I assume you're right. That seems right. That's amazing. You really are a fan.
You are making me feel so much better about this. If the world ends now, at least I'll know someone remembers that Junji spoke English for the first time in Clum Babies.
And also,
Was it the first time English when he did karaoke?
Cool. Sorry?
Was it the first time where he did tequila?
Oh, that's right.
And I thought Jess Hornell did a great job doing Junji.
He did a great job, and the inspiration was Jordan's father slipped into I think a cocaine-induced coma, allegedly.
Pills as well, sleeping pills.
Maybe some pills, and then he came in the room very upset, and we used that. We'll say we used it as inspiration to both create a TV show idea and to mock Jordan's pain. And listen, you got to enjoy it. So see, Jordan, how the circle of life.
That is all, as a comedy writer, you want is the consistent pain of living to entertain at least one other person.
Did that? We got another person.
Now, I will say something very cool about Join Together, aside from the jokes, because I love the way your style is, guys. Because, for instance, I'll give you an example. You guys do like a bait and switch on a bait and switch joke. Like, for instance, like in the episode The Tale of Two Cows with Waldor and the live action cow. Like, there was a gag where Waldor goes, "I got peanut butter on my balls," and he takes out tennis balls with peanut butter on. He says, "Now you'll be able to chase after them when they're up my ass."
Yeah. They call that in writers' rooms. They call it putting a hat on top of a hat, and it's usually looked down upon. But we love doing that.
Yeah, there's a lot of writers' rooms where they say, that's a hat on a hat. But I think it was someone, maybe Josh Bizel, who pointed out just someone wearing a hat isn't funny.
That's right.
Put the hat on the hat for it to even start being funny.
I think you have to get to 3 hats before anyone's laughing.
I think at this point, yes. You have to get 2 hats, and the third hat has to be in a coma.
So, like in the episode Little Orphan Hero, when the ice cream was flying up and the balloon fell like an ice cream.
I know, it's such random. Yeah, we really just tried to load it up with as many jokes, and then really it was just the rule was like if it just made us laugh in the writers' room, we put it in there. Like
Yeah.
if it broke character, if it made no sense, or if it ruined the story, and it still made us laugh, we put it in. I mean, there's so many times when characters don't know each other's names, and I don't know why that happened, but we just thought it was funny.
Dave, you're muted.
Oh.
Sorry, I was going to say, Matt, looking at you and how you're outdoors wearing that mask is all of those things. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. It breaks character. It doesn't help the story. But it's just funny.
And now I can tell.
I'm gonna quote Princess Clara when she called the genie a comic genius, but you guys are comic geniuses because who else? I mean, this was brilliant. I'm the type of fan that will actually watch it for the auto commentaries, but you guys did auto commentary over auto commentary.
That was a particularly fun day.
That was a particularly fun drunk day, and I think a lot of what we did, we found very clever, but also was probably very annoying to listen to most people. But listen, you listened to it and enjoyed it, so that makes me feel 10% better.
Yeah, I think for the Matt and David, I had been an animator, but they were real fans of animation in all its forms. So it's kind of, you don't always get that in creators of animated shows. When you do, you get all the great jokes, but all the attention to the visuals and the I think we always had fun with every component of the show. Even the DVD commentary, which we didn't know anyone would listen to.
Absolutely, I definitely listen to those, and I want to share before I share this really cool story about Grow Together, I have to ask you because most of the characters will obviously parody something. Captain Hero is a parody of Clara, Disney princesses, Waldor and SpongeBob or Stimpy, Cat. What was the origin of Spanky Ham? Because that was new to me.
Well, Spanky, I think, was always kind of an internet, one in those crude. You're a very young person, but during the early 2000s, there was this kind of rush to make shitty-looking internet animation, and I think we just thought that was the kind of crude flash animation style that we were seeing more of, and it kind of also spoke to his irreverent humor as well.
Yeah, I think there was this also right around then when South Park came out, people were able to do that crappy flash online. And, it was before there was that outside of South Park, there was Fox animation and then kids animation, not counting Ren and Stimpy and shows like that. And I'm trying to remember who it was. There was some racist sort of Asian portrayal of an Asian.
Mr. Wong?
Mr. Wong. That's what I'm thinking of.
That was crazy. It's so racist.
And then there was this other horribly offensive short cartoon called Double Down. I don't know if you ever saw it, Peter.
I heard
it was about two Down syndrome. Were they twins?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I saw it once a while.
I think it was twins who could count cards, and it was called Double Down, right?
Yeah, I think it was. That's a good example of the crude old animation. I only saw it once or twice, but yeah.
Yeah.
You'll look it up sometime, Peter. Tell me if you like. You'll tell us if you like it.
Absolutely, and I definitely want to know where the concept, how was it created and developed, the concept of drawn together. Curious to know about this. Take me there.
Go ahead, Matt. Take him there with your chin warmer.
Well, we were always huge fans of Big Brother. Love that show from the very beginning, and we were working on another show.
No, this is great.
Can you not hear him very well, Peter?
Can you hear? Take over, Dave. Why don't you take over?
Okay, you ready?
Go ahead.
It really was 100% born out of frustration where we were developing a show, actually with Jess Harnell. At the time, that's how we met him. And the show that we were sort of forced into making just didn't seem like much of a concept. But the producer and everybody really wanted us to move forward. And Matt, just in a moment of frustration, was like, this isn't even a concept. This isn't a show. A show would be about 8 different animated characters, all from the animated universe, thrown in a house and have their lives taped. Now, that would be a show. We should pitch that. I was like, yeah, we're not pitching it to these dummies. We should go pitch this ourselves. That would be crazy to give these people that idea.
And so, what did your agent at the time say?
And then we were very excited. We called our agent, which is sort of the same agent Jordan has. We're like, oh my God, we have this idea. We'd love to go out and pitch it. And he immediately said, that makes no sense. Why would anyone want to do that? It's too expensive. That's why people like reality TV. And we didn't do anything with it for like, what, a year and a half, Matt?
At least. Yeah, until Jordan called us.
Yeah, it really, literally, Jordan called to a friend of a friend because he was an animator who wanted to be a writer. And we were like, hey, this guy's talented, and if he's dumb enough to help us design characters, then we'll be dumb enough to offer him a job as a writer, right? That's sort of how it went.
It was the Reese's peanut butter cup of stupidity. It was you stupid writers got stupid animator on your stupid writer.
And then Jordan thought that was we were smart writers to hitch his wagon to, but then he learned his lesson and now has married a much more talented writer to hitch his wagon to.
That's right. Well, you guys weren't going to marry me.
I would have.
Oh.
You know that, Jordan.
Should have asked. Instead, maybe that's why you left my wedding so early.
No, it was 11 o'clock.
I think it was like 8:45.
That was the worst. You were going out for your first dance as I was walking out.
You were sneaking away. We didn't know because we hadn't been introduced yet, I don't think.
I knew who you were.
Old wound we've opened up.
That's fair. Well, if John Together comes back again, at least we now we're well on our way to the season premiere of the 4th season.
Will there be a crossover between Drawn Together and High School USA?
I don't think either one of those things will ever come back.
We got a call about Drawn Together probably about a year ago. Just wondering if we were interested at all, and obviously we were. We couldn't do it at the time, but I think even since then things have gotten so much more cautious and politically correct, and and obviously even with like Cleveland no longer being voiced by Mike Henry, I don't know if we could do anything we did before.
And Harry Shearer also. Harry Shearer, like, they stopped doing, like, Dr. Hibbert because he's Dr. Hibbert. Then Hank Azaria stopped doing Apu, Carl, any character that was not Caucasian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Right choice. I think at the time, none of us really thought that deeply about it. And that's, all the work that needs to get done nowadays. But, yeah, I mean, it's the right call. So
we had Cree voice Foxy. Did we have...
But we had Abby voice Ling Ling.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't.
But she was a monster. We never know what race was she.
That's true.
Yes,
that's true.
Right.
We're in the clear. We're fine.
We're fine. But her voice was just a monster voice. Yeah, if you say it sounds like an Asian voice, then you're the racist.
That is true.
I was so amazed by like the people you got. You got veteran voice actors like Tara Strong, Cree Summers, Jess Harnell, Adam Carolla, who I'm a big fan of, and Crank Yankers because I love that show.
Then you'll be in for a little trivial treat. Matt and Dave ran Crank Yankers for 2 years or 1 year?
Season 2.
Season 2.
I think season 2 and 3, right? We did like 30 episodes or something crazy.
Yeah, we did 30. I don't know how they split it up. But yeah, Crank Yankers we love. That's how... we worked with Jimmy and Adam on The Man Show, which is how we knew Adam. And it really it's a lesson that we continue to fail to learn. But we did Drawn Together. We did the pilot. We had a pilot script. Jordan helped create an animatic that was fun and sold the show. And they weren't interested until Carolla said he would voice Spanky. And the minute he voiced him, all of a sudden people way more important were calling us about making the series. And it really is like, it takes a star or someone that they give a shit about to make a TV show.
Or someone star adjacent.
Yeah. Well, for Comedy Central, he was a star.
Yeah. Right. And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt, but you actually did a voice on Crank Yankers. You were actually Mike Jarowski, weren't you?
Oh, wait, on Drawn Together. Yeah, no, we always would do. Yeah, I was Mike Jarowski. We all kind of did different voices. We would, and Jordan's a professional. He's done a lot of voices. Well, at least that's what he told us. But yeah, no, I love it. We always had fun doing voices on the show because.
Jordan, who did you do on the show? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think I ever did a voice on Drawn Together.
You know who I did? I was Excluding.
And you did Dunkelman.
I did Dunkelman. I did Dunkelman and I did Excluding.
Yeah, Excluding.
I was Excluding.
Peter, did you ever see DJ and the Fro? Another one of our attempts at comedy.
I have to check it out. Like,
you don't have to.
You do have to. It was 20 episodes of like a Beavis and Butthead ripoff where two cubicle dorks watched YouTube clips all day. The YouTube clips were real YouTube clips. And Matt voiced, I forget, who was it, DJ or the Fro?
He was,
a DJ.
yeah.
And you could,
Oscar winner Nat Faxon voiced Fro.
Who was originally Xander. Nat Faxon was the original voice of Xander. But Comedy Central made us fire him. And that was a heartbreaking moment because I loved Nat. I thought he was so brilliant as Xander.
Yeah, it was real funny.
And then, but luckily, we knew Jack Plotnick, and he was fantastic too. So it's one of those things that kind of worked out. But it would have worked out either way.
If you go back and watch DJ and the Fro in the first season, you can go. It was before Tosh came out, and then when Tosh came out, they used a lot of the same clips that we had done on DJ and the Fro. And I think it's pretty clear where the better jokes were. But Tosh was more of he was more of a personality. But I think you could watch because it was just like we had much hotter, fresher takes on all the videos.
Well, he also wasn't on MTV after 16 and Pregnant.
That's right.
At 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, yeah, it was not a great time slot. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. No, I was gonna say, like, I'll tell you an interesting thing. Like one of the Join Together episodes actually aired on my 16th birthday, and it was the one. Ironically, it was the one that got pulled in 2004. Terms of Endearment.
Oh yeah, sure.
The whole Christopher Reeves controversy.
Yeah.
Now, Terms of Endearment. What episode was it? Was the erasement camp?
That was it. Same one.
That was it, right? Which is very topical today, right? Did we do blackface in that episode?
I think.
Well, yeah.
Characters, they were retiring characters. They were getting rid of
They were getting rid of old racist stereotypes, and it actually became a stereotype, an African American stereotype, because of the tumor pressing on her brain. And I know she sang some old minstrel show songs, Fox or Spanky did. But I don't think we ever did blackface on Drawn Together, right?
No.
Never.
Well, it wouldn't quite work in animation, and also I don't,
that wasn't our jam.
Yeah, but the interesting thing was it wasn't pulled because of any racial components. Pulled people were sensitive about Christopher Reeve's wheelchair situation.
Because he had died, right? That's why they pulled it.
Yep.
Yeah. There are a lot of reasons why that show should have been pulled. That's the reasons, but that's why I got taken off.
Yep, it was Christopher Reeves.
Because he was a big Comedy Central guy.
So Peter, as a giant Drawn Together fan, see what episode? What's another episode that you would think would be the most was the most controversial and caused the most arguments and fights?
To be honest with you, I think top 3 actually would be. I would say, because of the religious purposes, I would say Clum Babies.
Oh, good. That was ironically, the biggest fight in that whole episode came down to, the big sort of John Woo action drama shot where Waldor or I guess it was the cucumber, the tomato, was shooting everybody. Yeah. At the very end, when he walks into a room and shoots the kid jerking off, they had a big problem with the kid's hand moving. Even though it was off screen, it was like this. They made us freeze the arm and would not air the episode unless we froze that. But all the violence and all the religious nonsense, they were fine with.
Yeah, all the blood, all the violence, not a problem. But the masturbation is a problem for Comedy Central. Or was.
What?
I mean, let's be honest. It's amazing they censored anything, considering what they let us put on the when you watch it.
I know.
I could finally ask you guys this because I waited a long time and I was trying to find this song ever since. But you gentlemen remember the episode Gay Bash, right, where Xander comes out?
Number 3, right?
That was my first episode watching. Like, I became a fan after that episode. During the Gay Bash party, one of you guys tell me this. What is the name of the song playing in the background going, "Can you feel it"?
Remember that?
Oh my gosh. Was that an original song? Maybe that was an original song. Maybe Evan made that song.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember the lyrics at all? Was it about?
No, it was just it was like a disco song, and then all you hear is a singer going, "Can you feel it?"
I wonder if maybe we put a song in. Didn't they take some songs away when they put it on DVD and stuff like that?
Dirty Dancing. They took the Dirty Dancing song, "Time of My Life."
Yes, we were. That was crazy. They didn't want to pay the license.
No, they did. We paid the license. They agreed to it. What is it, Bill Medley or whatever his name is? Whoever created the song, his people approved it and sold it, and we got it for like 20 grand, 30 grand. And then one night he was sitting at home, turned on his TV to see what's going on, and he heard his song in that episode and freaked out and apparently screamed at his people. And they called Comedy Central, and Comedy Central said, "But you signed something." They said, "But Bill's upset." And Comedy Central said, "Okay," and they made us replace it. And we were like, "But they signed it." It's not like they lied or that we cheated. They didn't want to upset the guy who wrote "Time of My Life."
That's such a worse reason than I thought. It was just them being too cheap.
So we wrote that song about there would have been a real good song here, right? Wasn't that the new lyrics?
Yeah, we weren't allowed to do that either.
And another fun, stupid fact, Peter, if you're for the fans, you can share with all of your friends. It was after that season that someone sent us a newspaper article where this cheerleading camp in Texas, an entire cheerleading squad had been kicked out of the camps for playing a practical joke where they shit on pizza. And in the article it said, apparently based on a Comedy Central show, which was the best article I've ever read.
That's reaching the youth.
Listen, Peter, Jordan, Dave, love you guys. I gotta hop off. I gotta go pick up my daughter and drop her off somewhere. I can't drive and talk at the same time. I'm a grown up now. But Peter, I really appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you watching this show and being a fan. And if I'm ever feeling down about myself, I'm going to call you because
Thank you, sir.
you made me feel so much better about myself and what we did.
But before you go off, I want to thank you for all those memories you gave me, like creating Join Together and giving me a show to watch every Wednesday.
You're welcome. Well, hopefully we'll have a chance to do that again at some point in our life. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Peter. Thank you so much, man.
Bye, Matt.
Now, Jordan and Dave, I do got a question though, like because I was, watching the Join Together clip show, and I noticed that those air dates are actually real life events. So, like the Clum Baby, where Bob the Cucumber shooting people, the date was, I believe, the date of the Columbine shooting, April 20th, 1999.
You did pay attention. It makes me feel, it feels like those the minutia that we got into in every episode. At least we were wondering if anyone would notice. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Sort of thing you get to have a little more fun with in animation. You get to hide some stuff and see if people like you are big enough fan to catch it and be offended by it.
I wouldn't say offended. I was just saying, like, I was just studying, like, this is interesting. They're using real life dates to, in reference to what exactly happened on the show. Like, one of them, I think, was Foxy versus the Board of Education. And the real life thing was when I believe South Africa constitutionalized something in regards to education, like integration.
Yeah, there was a lot of times we would sit and edit. The best and worst part about animation, which, Jordan, I'm sure you know, is you have 75 shots at every moment, right? Because you write it, you rewrite it, you punch it up, you have a table read, you rewrite it, an animatic, you rewrite it and punch it up, color comes back, there's a radio play in the edit, and you can keep changing, new jokes in people's lines, and in post you add jokes, and we would sit in an edit. And for me and Matt, I don't think we're funny enough, like let's say Matt and Trey, to do it all our own. We would never think we could. So Jordan would be involved in every step. We had writers, and if sometimes a PA would come in and sit in an edit and pitch jokes like that. And I don't remember the South African conversation, but I remember someone being in an edit and just being online looking for dates that they thought would funny. And I think it was Damon Yachis, one of the editors. Like, oh, I thought these would be funny dates. And we're like, great. You're like, everyone added to the show to the point where, we mocked Columbine.
What about I gotta ask you both this though, and if you finally can answer my question, like I've been waiting a long time to hear this though, Jordan or Dave. I always wondered who did the voice of Fat Allen in Truth Goes Bollywood.
Let's see.
Fat Allen.
Fat Alan was not. You're not talking about the Fat Albert character, right?
No, I'm talking about the guy, to quote unquote, not affiliated with Bill Cosby's lovable character.
Yes.
Let's see, Fat Albert. I think it wasn't Jess,
James Arnold.
and I don't think it was James Arnold Taylor. There was a few guys we brought in outside of those guys, like Phil. There was like a Phil Lamar, a Chris Edgerly. I know Chris Edgerly did our Donald Trump.
Yes, Ducky Buck.
Yes. And then Phil Lamar did Cree's son when he was hidden in the wall.
Is that not in the credits? It should be in the credits, right?
Like I figuring out, like I couldn't figure out like who did the voice of Fat Alan.
Bet if I rewatch it, I could figure it out. But
it wasn't Billy West. Billy West did the voice of
Stimpy?
He did Stimpy for sure. We just wanted to hear him yell because we're all such giant, fans of that genius that we're just excited for him to come.
The security guard at the mall.
Security guard at the mall, and he also did the reflection of it was someone's reflection in a puddle of piss in Lost in Parking Space.
yeah.
Did he also do Denzel Washington?
Mm-hmm.
Double dong.
Double Dog Denzel.
Double Dog Denzel, and he also did Popeye.
Yes, I did Popeye, the Lemonade Walk. Eben Schletter wrote that stuff. He wrote all the music. He was from
Mr. Show.
From Mr. Show. And I recently saw him on something else. I'm going to forget what he was working on now. See if I can remember.
Yeah, he did great parody songs. Great, always delivered. And would write a lot of the lyrics himself. I wish we could all take credit for it, but he would always do a pretty great job. So.
And I love the references, like the meta references, like when Clara and Toot at the end of Captain Hero's Marriage Pact, they said, "Did you realize we didn't get any airtime because Tara was doing Unusually Flexible Girl, right?"
Yes.
Yes.
It's weird because Tara and Cree and Jess, and James Arnold Taylor, all are so immensely talented voice actors. I don't know, have they done any other adult animation? They still are sort of like in the kid space, and I know like Jess was in Life of Pets or Secret Life of Pets 1 or 2, and they're always like characters in movies, and there was the Powerpuff movie. But as far as adult animation, it's amazing to me because they have such perfect voices and they can do a million things. I don't know why they aren't used more because they're so perfectly funny.
They are great. My guess is they make so much money on the kids stuff and the consistency of it that doing more of the adult stuff might lead to them potentially getting into some my wife is trying to sneak by.
Hi, Laura.
She said hi. But yeah, I think it's tough for them because most creators want a comedy actor to do a voice for an adult stuff, and though they were so good because they could nail a voice that both sounded like something that you've seen on TV before, which we wanted these characters to feel like they had previously existed before drawn together, and they were funny. So it was a great group of people. There's always on every show, maybe people don't get along. They always got along. Everyone was like really good friends, and it was great. Good group.
It's trying to remember the only friction the entire series, at least with the actors. Do you remember when Corolla went on Howard Stern right before we premiered to promote the show, and which was very nice of him. I mean, it was the most perfunctory promotion of the show because he had to wake up at 5 a.m. and do his thing. But Howard asked him, "That's so all right, congratulations on your new show. Are there any other actors on the show that I would know?" And Corolla tried to make a sort of a flippant joke about nobody important. I'm the only star on this show, something like that. And I remember a couple of the actors came in like, "Hey, I heard Corolla was on Howard Stern shitting on us." And this was before Sirius, obviously, so they couldn't go back and listen to it. I was like, "Oh no!" He tried to make a joke about how it's not a very star-driven show, and that he was the biggest star. But then you could tell they got very offended that they were all shit on, which I get. That's Corolla's charm.
Yeah,
I do I do want to get your response on this one, gentlemen, because when I heard Drawn Together parried this, like I was infuriated that they wrote this. What EW wrote about Drawn Together. I want to get what your reaction was when you found out what they wrote.
Our reaction, you can literally watch it. You saw the follow-up episode, right, where they went into EW and killed everybody?
Yes.
We really, I think there's so much shit on TV. And worse than that, there's so much nothing on TV. And our goal was always, we want to make something that people love or hate. It's that middle ground, that sort of no man's land where you're trying not to offend anybody. You're trying to make, that radio station that everyone can agree on in the office, 103.5, the coast. That's, I think, the worst thing to do because listen, we all worked our whole lives to get to a point of getting something on the air. And so we tried really hard to make something that maybe you would love. And there are certainly people that hated the show. And the fact that EW hated it is fine with me. If they gave us a C and they said, oh, this is nice, not memorable.
Missed the mark, right? Wasn't something interesting.
And when we called EW and we told them we wanted to we wanted to do an episode about that grade and we wanted to re-review the show, they had fun with it and they gave us a new review and they still gave us an F. But it was a new reviewer who at least had fun with it. So I would love an A everywhere on everything we did, but I think second best, it's an F. Jordan, you agree?
Yeah, I mean, go big or go home, right, Peter? Like, there's no reason to make something like you see a million shows on Netflix these days, and you just pass by because they don't seem special. There's just nothing about them, and whether you can make South Park or Family Guy and do it for 30 years, great. But at least we were having fun and trying.
That's cool, man. And but I also want to ask you guys, like, where did the famous running gag come from? Where did that originate from?
I know that I don't know if it was. I don't think it was from a TV show. I think that was just from the sophomoric, immature attitude we all had that came from our childhood, where we probably all mocked each other's older siblings by saying a duh, and then it just got long, became just we love those running gags because then your fans are enjoying it. Then you can make a joke in episode 20 without having to really do the work. And also, I think not the duh, but it comes from Matt and I and Jordan are all from the East Coast. I mean, we all listen to Howard Stern growing up, and even now there are jokes they make that are really just references to things that happened 15 years ago. And then in some ways, listen, I'm not saying this was why we did it, but it becomes part of now people are watching us and they just know that the writers are making jokes that you're already familiar with. And we're just being like, hey, we don't have a real joke here. So we're just going to say something else that we think is stupid and funny that is because we can't come up with a new joke.
And I think the luxury of having a show continue on for multiple seasons is you're watching those episodes, you're seeing people's reaction to it, right? So we think that's really funny when we watch it. So we said, let's try it in this episode. And then you can't do the exact same thing, so you kind of keep changing it up and making it bigger and making it crazier. So, it's the sort of thing you see if it works that first time, and if it does, you go back to the well and try it again, like the chicken fight in Family Guy.
Yes.
Our version.
Now, I do gotta ask you guys, like, everyone has that one, influence or inspiration, like, comedy-wise. Like, who would it be for you guys? Like, what actor, comedian would you say really inspires you, like, a comedic influence?
Go ahead, Jordan. I'm looking. I want to hear what you say, and it better be me.
Right. It's Dave Jeser.
Yeah.
I would have to say it's Larry David for me. I grew up watching Seinfeld probably 2, 3, 4 times a day, and into Curb, and that kind of neuroses spoke to me, and the intolerance of other people also felt particularly
I can see both of those things in you, Jordan.
Yeah, so That would be mine in general.
Yeah, I think we were in the Simpsons, but before that, Letterman, Chris Elliott off of Letterman, because he was just so tangentially funny. Like it was, did you ever see Get a Life, either of you guys?
I did.
I did.
It was the way he describes it is, every show has the wacky neighbor. His show was about that wacky neighbor and what was happening in his life. And everything he did on Letterman was exactly that. Obviously, Howard Stern, and Ren and Stimpy was one of our, that was just I remember watching it. It just blew my mind because I grew up loving cartoons and a lot of shitty ones from the Smurfs and Super Friends and He-Man and then all of a sudden Ren and Stimpy came and I was like, and that was also right when I think I started getting high, or it was right inspired me to get high. I don't know. It just was like a whole new. It was like that looks like those shows I used to wake up early and watch, but it's not at all like them, and it's just true insanity. Yeah, so I think those were, and then Married with Children. I fucking love Married with Children. Sorry for cursing, Jordan.
I was gonna ask too, like, were you fans of like the humor and the style, like of what something like Ralph Bakshi or Robert Crumb would do, or no?
I mean, I was someone who watched a lot of that in art school, and before that, I think all of us kind of felt very drawn to adult animation because I think personally it speaks to a smarter audience. I think a savvier comedic audience in general. When if you're The Simpsons or you're South Park, your audience, or Rick and Morty, or Crumb, or the people who are going to be absorbing that are much more. They're paying attention. They're like you, Peter. They're like actually invested in this, as opposed to people who just turn on a regular TV show and watch it while they're folding laundry. I mean, I not to denigrate either side. Both are good for different reasons, but I think it's
laundry.
But yeah, I don't want to make anyone feel bad for that. But yeah, I think it's when John Chris Belushi is who loves animation but isn't trying to make a show for 5 and 10-year-olds. He wants to do a show that he likes. All of a sudden, got people like Dave and I and you, Peter, we're like paying attention. Our eyes are open and we're excited by it. So I think all of those things and the love of those things probably just pushed us into this particular field.
Oh, and I'll say this only because Matt's not on here, but South Park for sure. Like when I graduated college, I was working at Prudential and ready to fucking kill myself because I was as lost as you could be, because my parents told me I should get into business like cousin Gary, who works for American Express. So it's like, oh, I'll be a businessman. And it was horrible. And I quit. I moved home. And it was right when Spirit of Christmas came out. And I remember Matt showing it to me, again, super stoned. And it was like, I laughed so fucking hard. I'd never seen anything like that before. It was like a mix of Ren and Stimpy and Howard Stern and all the nonsense I'm sure you and your friends were doing at the time, but with the funny voices and the funny short. And I was like, oh, that is, and it was during that I was decided that I got to try to do something like that. And I did something like that.
Would you say also like Tex Avery too, like the animation style, especially like when the characters have facial expressions, like when you see Toot saying Wienermobile and she's like her face is like all like like what's the word I'm looking for, like when it's all stretched out, or like like
very rubbery and loosey.
Rubbery, yeah.
Yeah. So the kind of I would say we had a very talented animation studio who understood that we liked that sort of thing, and sometimes we would write to that specifically, at other times they would kind of surprise us and let us kind of enjoy what they came up with, because I think we all did want to push the visuals as much as we wanted to push the written jokes and stuff like that. So I think for sure Tex Avery is one of my favorites, but I would give a lot of credit to Pete Avanzino, who's the supervising director, and his crew who did just great work.
Yeah, any cartoon entertainment from anywhere. We loved all the gross ups. Is that what they're called? That from Ren and Stimpy. You know, we go wah wah and cut it wah wah. One of those.
And then you see the zit and the hair and yeah, it's just really gross. We did a lot of stuff together.
I remember that like a lot of them, like with Toot, they did a lot of that. They did that with Wooldor in the episode Clum Babies. Oh, it was so funny.
In Clum Babies, Rich Moore, he was a part owner of Rough Draft, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he went on to do Wreck-It Ralph and
Zootopia, I think.
Yeah, Zootopia. He directed that episode, and it was always great because we would have revolving directors. Pete Evanzina was our supervising director, and then every episode had a different director. And Rich Moore would do like 2 episodes a year. And they were always amazing, not only because he's obviously incredibly talented, but because he was part owner, if he didn't like boards, he could redo them and send them in months late because he was part owner. So if he wanted to take a whole scene, and he took that whole scene in Clum Babies, the whole shooting scene, he's like, let me just do this. And this is a director who's now since done Zootopia, and he did The Simpsons before that. And he just did an entire act and directed the whole thing. And we didn't have to give him any notes. We just said, the guy goes crazy. There's a shooting spree. He shoots the guy jerking off, and it ends with a speech. And, you give someone a radio play. So he has I'm going crazy, and then a speech. And he filled in those 2 minutes with the John Woo doves and the flipping and the shooting and the hairy palm. And it was like, man, we didn't have to write that whole 2 minutes of show. And it was better than anything we would have written.
And didn't he also direct the senior citizen home, right?
Yes, the Alzheimer's that ends well.
Alzheimer's that ends well.
I love that episode. Another episode that Jimmy Kimmel was, and I learned one thing about Jimmy Kimmel and Drawn Together. He is an absolute great singer because I liked 9 to 5 better than the Sheena Easton version.
Yeah, he was great. He was so great, and I always wanted to do an animated show with him and that voice. That's the voice he does for Elmer from Crank Yankers.
Yes.
So I don't know that he can now do an animated show with the voice he does on another show. I don't think that's how that works. But Jordan, you can tell me.
That is actually exactly how it works. Look at what's his name from Bob's Burgers and Archer. H. John Benjamin does the same voice for all of them. Kristen Schaal, who's wonderful. She's all over Gravity Falls, and she doesn't have. It's Yeardley Smith is the only one who really just has such a distinct voice, and it only works for that character. And Lisa Simpson, but everyone else, like they found a way to basically, if you have a voice that's funny, they'll put it in multiple types of shows.
We should show them. We did a pilot, Jordan. I'm sure you pitched on it when we did Coffin Dodgers.
Yes.
With old people in an old age home. We should do that with Jimmy Kimmel. Let's do that, guys. What do you say? You in?
I'm in. But I'm going to
Blackface?
have to jump off if that's okay. Peter, it was wonderful to meet you.
Where's going, Jordan? Okay.
Jordan, before you go, I do want to ask one thing, though. What was your favorite Drawn Together episode?
My favorite Drawn Together episode, I would say it's Clum Babies. I love the way that turned out. I thought it was so funny and it looked great. I hate to do this when it's one that my name was on it, but I had a writing partner at the time, so I'll say he was the reason it was great. But the nipple ring, that storyline is one of my favorite storylines that we ever did, of just a guy fucking with himself back in time, and then the answer being because some asshole did it to him. It's just there's something very poetic about it. I always like it.
Your friend Bill claims he came up with that ending.
Oh, well, I still credit Elijah.
Okay. All right. Well, Jordan, go do your thing. What are you doing now? Let us know. What are you up to? So Peter and I know what we're
Make dinner for my wife.
Oh, that's very nice.
Is there anything, Jordan, is there anything you would like to plug before you leave? It's an open forum.
But in the future, I will hold you to that, and I will offer you some shots at the things I'm doing, so you could tell me if they hold a candle to Drawn Together.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you.
Bye, Jordan. Love you.
Now, Dave, I have to ask.
Me, Peter. I'm sorry. All the fun people are gone.
No worries. But no, I was gonna ask. Uh, Dave, there was a question I was gonna ask you too. Like, oh yeah, was Dave Chappelle the original voice for Ray Ray? Because there was a thing online saying that, like, that he was the original voice, then they got Phil Lamar to do it.
I don't remember him being. I'm sure his name came up, and I think Ray Ray, the name Ray Ray, is based on a Chappelle joke. I think there's an old Chappelle stand-up bit where he calls somebody Ray Ray, and I can't remember right now, but that probably is more where it came from, but because I don't remember him ever being up for the job or us. A lot of times on our show it was sort of like, we got to shoot next Tuesday. Who's available? Someone like Phil Lamar is available. Lock him in right now because he's awesome. That kind of thing. So I don't remember Dave Chappelle.
Very cool. And maybe you could dispute this too, because when I first watched them join together and I was checking the IMDb, which is like, a well-known, database for, movies or actors, but they said that Hank Azaria did the voice of the pizza guy in Dirty Prankin' #2. That wasn't true, right?
No, I don't remember Hank Azaria being on the show. Yeah, we which maybe is a detriment to our long-term career. There are a lot of animated shows, the guest stars or the walk-ons are all sort of famous actors or comics, and we didn't think to do that. We loved traditional voice actors like Phil Lamar, Chris Edgerly, and between Cree, Jess, Tara, James, they knew everybody in the industry. So we had E.G. Daly came in and did a voice. E.G. Daly was Pee-wee's girlfriend, Dottie, from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Tommy.
Yeah, she's done a ton of stuff. She came in and did it. Actually, Zoe Kravitz came and did a voice because that's Cree's goddaughter at one point. So it was all through those guys. Those were our window into like all the amazing, talented animated voiceover actors. So that didn't get famous people.
No, I think it's cool that you use like the traditional voice actors, like you said, James Arnold Taylor, Jess Cornell, and then you get the new rising stars like Jack Plotnick and Abby, Gregorio.
Abby DiGregorio. Yeah, it was Abby McBride at the time, and she married one of the writers, and so we have two official drawn together babies running around the world because they have two kids.
That's awesome. And also, Abby actually appeared in a live action scene in Tuco's Bollywood with a woman getting mugged, right?
Yes. She appeared in that. She also played the part in a Comedy Central or MTV special. She played Tara Reid and came out and threw up on either Jimmy Kimmel or someone. Abby we know from The Man Show. She was like a PA or an intern on The Man Show 20 years ago. And is a very talented actor and voice actor and writer.
Very, very true. And even is Adam Carolla the only person, him and Jack Plotnick, the only guys that never did additional voices on Drawn Together, or no?
Let's see. Jack did some other voices, but he was, he's a more traditional actor, so we wouldn't go to him for all the series of voices. But he would do every now and then probably a small either voice, or if we had a big fighting scene, he could throw in fighting sounds. But yeah, I think those two, because they're not traditional voice actors, and those other guys could do, the way it works is if I pay you to come in for a session, I can get, for cartoons, I can get 3 voices out of you for that one session. And so with the budgetary constraints, when Cree, Jess, Tara, and James came in, they would each do 3 voices. And if that didn't cover everybody, then we would go out someone else. Yeah, Carolla wouldn't even try to do anybody else, so we never bothered asking.
Well, you did mention before, how, he can't, Jimmy Kimmel couldn't use the Elmer voice because they'll know it's him, but he used that same voice in Alzheimer's That End Well, right, with the gentleman in the retirement?
He did, and that was after Crank Anchors was over, so we assumed that was cool at that point. I didn't realize he'd be bringing Elmer back. Oh, sorry, rude.
Done. And also, Adam Carolla doesn't he use his Bertram voice for Spanky Ham?
You know, he claims he once explained to us why they're completely different voices. And I wish we had it on tape where he went through the Bertram voice, he went through the Spanky voice, and explained why they are completely different voices, completely different characters, and we'll take it. There was also one time, if you are this big a fan, then you're crazy, but where he was just talking about nonsense in the booth, and we used that in the show, where I'm trying to remember what the bit was, but he was just talking about something, and it sounded kind of funny, so we just then took that voice, a casual conversation, which was Adam Carolla and not Spanky, and animated that as part of the show.
I remember that was the when they go to Mexico, right? And
Yeah.
then Captain Hero goes, Spanky, you're voiced by Adam Carolla.
There you go.
And he said, well, if the jig is up, can I talk in my real voice? And that's when you hear the audio of Adam.
Yeah. See, look at that. You did watch season 3.
I love season 3. And here's one I want you to answer, because I think I asked Maurice LaMarche this one time, because he voiced the father of the of the Greek family.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what their names were. And then at the end of the episode, the John Travolta, Danny Zuko character came. Who voiced Danny Zuko in that episode?
Oh my gosh. You got me on that one too. Jess Harnell? I would guess. He seems like the right guy, but I don't know. I could look it up, but I don't remember. What's
also very interesting too, Dave, is you have one character that's voiced by 2 different people. Like Bucky Bucks was his fake voice was voiced by Chris Edgerly, and then his real voice, which would wind up being the Jew producer, is voiced by James Arnold Taylor.
Right. Yeah, that was because we came up with them separately, because James was originally it was just a parody of Big Brother, so you had Big Brother speakers. So James voiced that, and then when we got Chris Edgerly to do Donald Trump, some of this stuff wasn't well thought out.
The humor, though, I love the humor in the show, because you don't know, and I love, when you have, a series, when someone's giving a speech, you don't know if it's going to go south or if it's going to go right. For instance, the times that it went south was the Foxy's speech, and then that's when Bob the Cucumber went on the spree. Another time it went south was when, in terms of endearment, when Spanky was given that speech, and then that guy, I'm not going to say what his name is, because in the show, it was censored. It was Blank Mouse, and it was Mickey Blank. And then he gave the speech, and then the character went, wow, that gave me a lot to think about, Spanky. After I kill all these people, and then it goes the right way. With the King of Insurance, when Spanky gave another speech, and you think he's going to say something wrong, like, Spanky Ham, your convoluted logic has swayed me.
Yes, I think. That's, I guess, sort of the fun of the whole thing, right? Is we're the writers, so it's so hard when you're overthinking it as much as we are to try to surprise people, right? And that's, going back to why EW failed us, why EW gave us the F, is we surprised them just in a bad way, right? And I have it framed and hung up in my garage, but they were just not impressed with what we did. They were angry at all the choices we made, but that means that those choices were not expected. So that's why it doesn't bother me so much. I think our agent at the time framed it and sent it to us and said, congratulations.
Oh, okay. And in the episode The Other Cousin, though, how come the ending, for both the television and the DVD things, the ending was altered, with the people on the bus? First you had the people on the bus where they were, attractive-looking people, and then in the DVD one, it's basically, the special needs version of the Drawn Together cast. What happened?
You know what? I remember that the special needs version of the Drawn Together cast was a network note. They did not like that we did that. And I remember it was an argument. I don't remember why we cared so much. We just thought it was funny to see that she came from an alternate universe, or, doppelgangers, live with doppelgangers of our guys. We loved it. We thought it was funny. They hated it and said it made no sense. And that was what, the fourth episode, right? And they just wanted us to change that. And I think it was one of those, the head of the network, and he loved that episode, just wanted that change. So we had to change it. And I guess when we went to the DVD, we were allowed to probably put it back. I don't remember the conversation about putting it back, but I remember just having to change it and being petulant children about having to change it. But it was fine either way, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I mean, I like Drawn Together regardless how the ending was. There's only one thing I didn't understand, maybe because I didn't get to see it until the DVD version. But when they lick Junji, you see two Waldors. In the TV version, they don't explain why there's two versions licking Junji. But I just used my imagination thinking that Waldor was so excited that he split himself into two, so that way, that's the only explanation. But then you find on the DVD, he actually did do that.
Yes. So in those things, I don't even remember how that ends up happening. So some of the things that are confusing are just because they were, mistakes or confusions on our part, and some of them are very serious. I remember, I think it's in that episode, or when they're licking Ling Ling, that you see like the back of Homer Simpson's head passed out on the ground. And I remember someone's comment, I don't even know where there was commentary at that point, but someone's comment was, obviously someone forgot to get rid of him. I'm like, that's not how the world works. Homer didn't show up on the set and pass out on the ground and we forgot to get rid of him. So that was a purposeful, nonsensical mistake.
Another one too, but sometimes you put the characters like in the background, like as a reference. Like the episode, what was the name of that episode where they open up the casino with the Native Americans?
Yes, I know the episode. I don't remember the name.
I don't remember what that episode was, but there was a scene where they pan to the crowd and you see Marge Simpson's head in the background playing with slots, which is a reference to the Simpson episode where she developed a gambling addiction.
To gamble. That was my favorite Simpsons episode, which is
I love that. I think it was called Springfield or How I Learned to Love Legalized Gambling or something like that.
Yeah, she was in that episode, and then there was Baba Louie. Did you get that reference in the episode? Serial?
That was a parody of the character Baba Louie and Howard Stern's Baba Booey.
Yeah. Where are you from again? I think you told me, but I forget.
Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
20 minutes away from Coney Island.
Very nice. So that was our attempt to get Howard Stern's, and that someone brought that up on the Howard Stern show when they were doing the news, and he said one of the news stories was there's a show on Comedy Central. He didn't know it was Carolla's show, and someone had recorded it for me, and so I listened to it. It was like someone on the show Drawn Together, They Must Love You, because they did an episode where Baba Louie was in a crowd scene. He jumped up screaming Baba Louie, or did he scream Baba Booey or Baba Louie? Probably Baba Louie.
Yeah, you actually have to rewatch the episode.
I think he goes Baba Louie, and obviously as a nod to us in the show. And Howard went, all right. And then they moved on to the next one. And still, that was great. Someone brought it up to Howard. It's kind of like, the fact that you remember some of these little minute things, that I remember that.
I remember as a kid, though, I would laugh when you guys did the Good Times parody.
Yes, and the oil painting.
Oh, that was great. How you guys did that to make it look exactly like, Good Times is amazing how you guys recaptured that, painting.
So did you mention your favorite episodes, just out of curiosity?
My favorite episode, I love, there's so many to choose from, but I guess it would be a tie, like a three-way tie, because there's over 30 episodes of Drawn Together.
I have 35, I think.
My top, I guess I'll give you one for each season, though. I loved the episode Gay Bash because it was the first one I ever seen.
Great.
I loved, for the second season, I loved Alzheimer's That End Well.
Great. Love that one.
And for season 3, what did I say for season 3? Freaks and Greeks.
All right. And now what's your least favorite episodes?
Least favorite? Maybe because I felt bad for Waldorf, but it would be Requiem. I think it was Requiem of a reality show.
Mm-hmm. Reality show. Go ahead.
For season 3, for season 2, I would probably tell you.
And you can't offend me, so don't worry about it. I'm curious more than anything.
Season 2, it was really hard because season 2 is my favorite season. But if you say the one I would just watch is the last one, probably, Little Orphan Hero.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Because his parents were dicks to him. Captain Hero's a dick, but nobody warrants that.
True, but that explains why he's a dick, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's the origin. And for season 3, only because I felt bad. Again, this I guess I'm on a felt bad spree, but I felt bad for the young um Captain Hero in Nipple Ring Ring Goes to Foster character.
Oh yes, Jordan's favorite. Yes, that one was just a cool masterpiece. I would say for me, not that you're asking, but I'm gonna tell you anyway.
No, I was going to ask you that.
Are um, I love the after school special. That one just felt like its own show and its own tone and weird. I love, for whatever reason, Lost in Parking Space Part 1. I didn't like Lost in Parking Space Part 2. But I was also into a big 24-hour phase of my life, so I love that whole 4 stories left on cliffhangers. I love Clum Babies, Alzheimer's that ends well. I'm not really going in order. And, well, I always have a strong affinity for the pilot, but really just the song more than anything.
You know what? I'm so glad that you did. I mean, for season 2, though, I'm glad you didn't do what the creators of Gary and Mike did. I mean, anyone remembers the show Gary and Mike? That was they ended the show in a parody of Thelma and Louise. But that's why I was afraid when I saw the ending of the one with the one within the big twist. Was that the name of the title?
Yes, I think so.
I was afraid because when the Jew producer hit the rocket launcher, and they were going down, I was kind of scared, actually. I was scared that we weren't going to get drawn together, like we weren't going to get Gary and Mike anymore.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But yeah, I wish we did more cliffhangers and more nonsense, but that's why I like that Lost in Parking Space, because it left on a cliffhanger at least.
I see. And you guys are known for tremendous, musical numbers in this show. I mean, there's so many. In fact, when I was showing my best friend, joined together to get him into the show, he loves the show. When the first song of Black Chick's Tongue, at the end of the song, I was in a jokingly way, going, "That was beautiful, just beautiful."
That's when we went to Comic-Con the first year and we were promoting the show. And it was when literally the main. Have you ever been to Comic-Con, Peter?
I've always wanted to, especially the one at the one in Manhattan.
The one in Manhattan is huge. The one in San Diego, I mean, there's 100,000 people in there every day. It's not happening this year, but literally when we went, there was none of that. And we had a booth right in the middle for the whole weekend. We were next to a softcore vampire porn booth. So it wasn't this giant thing yet. And we were trying to promote the show. They gave us 40,000 comic book backings, like cardboard hardbacks, so you could give them out. And it was just me, Matt, Jordan, Cree came, and some of the actors showed up at different times. And the producer, Mike Mandel, may he rest in peace, sadly passed away this year. But we gave out 40,000 backings, and we just played that song. We just had that 4-minute clip on a loop, and we would. Everybody, oh my God, we're about to watch 2 animated characters, a mystery-solving musician and a Disney-esque princess are about to make out. And we'd get a crowd, and we'd play that over and over. And for a weekend, we probably played it, 350 times. So almost like in Clockwork Orange way, it's drilled somewhere deep into my brain. Hi.
Oh, that was just my girlfriend that appeared in the back.
Is she a big Drawn Together fan?
She likes the show, yes.
It's fine if she doesn't.
No, she does. Especially I'll tell you another joke I loved in the show was when Captain Hero goes, "I said him on the phone."
Yes, he does a great high-pitched voice.
Love that. And
no, go ahead.
Oh no, that. There's so many great moments, it just go together, and it's you hear the name, you hear the voices, and you can pinpoint who is doing that voice. Jess Harnell was obviously Octopus Wop.
Right, of course.
And then you get someone like the Genie was, because he sounds like the Jew producer, so that's James Arnold Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna say another one, Tara Strong did so many voices on the show. I believe she was one of the. I think she was Ariel, in the episode. What was it? I think it was a Spell in Appleby.
Yes. And Cree was one of the if you could recognize Cree's old person voice in Alzheimer's That Ends Well. She did one of the old people. Yeah, I mean, they would probably each do a voice in a second or third voice in every episode.
Wait, so Creed did the voice of the elderly woman though? I was just curious because like on the credits it showed Debbie Mae West. That's why I wasn't sure if it was Cray Summers or Debbie Mae West. You know how IMDb is.
Yes, you never know. Yeah, I don't remember Debbie Mae West coming in, but maybe. But
And
yeah,
then, but also Cray also did the voice of the Child Protection Service lady. She
no,
was
Child Protective Service lady was Paget Brewster.
oh, pardon me. She
That's right. No, but we knew her from Andy Richter Controls the Universe. Yeah, we love her.
oh okay. But then she also voiced what was her name? She voiced Daphne, right? The parody like in Foxy the Board of Ed.
Mm-hmm.
And she was also Xander's girlfriend.
Xander's girlfriend, and she was in the movie. She was the little suck my taint girl.
Oh yeah. She was
Uh,
Strawberry Sweet Cake.
yes. So yeah, so they all did tons of voices, like you said, except for maybe Jack and Adam.
And, even Abby did some voices. She did the voice of the kids in the gay bash, like the ones that were at war with Spanky Ham.
Yes, she did those little kids, which is probably an episode they wouldn't let us do now for sure.
And also, I love because you parodied one of the worst movies in history, in my opinion. Grease 2. That's why I love Super Nanny. Like when you did the song "Who's That Guy?" Like I thought it was such a terrific parody of a shitty movie.
Well, what's funny is I 100% agree with you. Matt loves that movie. So again, he loves it. I hate it. But either way, it's worthy of parody.
Well, you guys, would you say like you guys are very similar to like Siskel Lieber? Like if you see one way, that, like if you like one thing, then the other doesn't, and vice versa, or no?
Um, on some things for sure, and then some things we both absolutely love. You know, there's things like Sex and the City, Titanic, uh, which are movies that, or TV shows that a large specific group of people like. I don't even know what you would call them. Maybe a little syrupy, maybe a little cheesy, maybe a little feminine, maybe a little romantic. We both love those. I've seen every Sex and the City episode, as has Matt 100 times. But then we also like Howard Stern and Letterman and Simpsons and you know Ren and Stimpy. So we love all of those. But now, you know, Matt mostly watches cooking shows. So I don't watch any cooking shows. And I think as we've gotten older, you know, and he was a much bigger Star Wars dork and loved the first ones, hated the second ones, but now hates these new ones even more so that he starts liking the not so new ones. But I don't
Oh,
have strong feelings about Star Wars. I love the original ones, and I don't care about the new ones.
is there any like person that like it had they been still with us that you would have had on Drawn Together? Actors and
Huh. Someone, you know, we tried to get when we didn't go with Nat Faxon after the pilot. The first person we brought in to replace Xander was Seth MacFarlane.
really?
And we had met him once or twice, and he had said nice things about us, and it helped us tremendously because he had just started Family Guy. And Family Guy had been canceled, you know, that brief period where Fox didn't think
Yeah.
people liked Family Guy. And his producer, Caravallo, who produced Family Guy, helped us get Drawn Together off the ground. And she was like, oh, I can get Seth to come in and audition for a voice. So he came in, and he actually did a voice that was very similar to the alien in American that became
Roger.
Alien American Dad, Roger. And we thought it was great, but it became clear that the jokes we wanted to do and the stories we wanted to tell and what the network was hoping for, that we wanted to find someone who was actually gay as opposed to someone who's going to pretend to be gay, because then it all gets a little uglier when you do that. So that's when we met Jack, who was amazing. So, but he came in, and not that I wished Seth were that character, because I think it works way better with Jack, and he was funny and perfect. But obviously, if Seth were on the show, he's just a rare singular talent. And it was right when the show got picked up, when we started and we were on our way to making it, that Family Guy got picked up again, and Kara left, which is how we ended up with that producer, Mike Mandel. So it all worked out. But yeah, obviously Seth MacFarlane would have been the best.
Very cool. And There's one person like I just wish he had been alive for this because I definitely like, and maybe I could be wrong here, but you could definitely verify this. But had he been alive, but one of my idols, the late great Phil Hartman, who I think is one of the funniest men on the planet, would you have had him on Join Together? Like, had he still been?
I would love to have had Phil Hartman, 100%. Adam Sandler, who I'm a big fan of. Any of the guys we mentioned. But yeah, Phil Hartman is just another one of those singular geniuses where there's no one like him, and obviously no one will be like him. There's not a lot of those guys. Mike Judge would be another one. Yeah. The thing about the Mike Judges and the Seth MacFarlanes and the Matt and Treys, those guys who have those voices that just transcend everything else, they also have an artist's vision of a world. So those guys, that's something Matt and I never had. I can't draw for shit. Matt is an artist and can draw way better than me, but he doesn't design our worlds. So we're sort of, that's where Jordan came along. So between me, Matt, and Jordan, if we found one fourth friend who could do a voice, then all four of us together could be like a poor man's Seth MacFarlane one day. So if you know anyone that can do a voice, let me know.
Absolutely. I'd tell you right away.
But I really appreciate you doing this and giving a shit about us and the show and all that fun stuff.
Thank you for all those memories you gave, like with the Drawing Together. Like, I can't thank you enough. Drawing Together was basically why I would tune in. I would actually, I'll be honest with you, this is before DVDs, but this is when I would actually record episodes on VHS, like every Wednesday night. And before you go, Dave, is there anything you would like to say or plug? This is an open forum. You can say anything you want.
Let's see. What do I want to say? I have nothing really to plug. Everyone should definitely check out Solar Opposites, which we work on a few days a week when they let us. But I love that show. Their season 2 is being made. Season 3 was picked up. And then, let's see, is there anything else? And mostly don't cancel people because they tell horrible jokes by accident. Cancel assholes, not
And one last thing before you go, I just hope that one day, like, I can get Jess or Tara or anybody else like that was on the show, because I'd love to, interview them and just, because I grew up with all of them. Like, much like you, I grew up watching these people, like, I grew up watching the shows. Like, so if you ever hear from any of them, just, let them know that they're always welcome to come on the show.
All right, I definitely will, and I should get in touch with those guys. I reached out to Cree. I heard she was moving, and everyone's dealing with, so I couldn't pin her down to anything. But I'm glad that we got Matt and Jordan. Unfortunately, he's sober for this, but next time I'll make sure he's drinking.
Yeah, I hope there's part 2 in the future for us.
Me too. No, Peter, you're awesome. Keep it up. You're great at the interview, and your knowledge of the subject matter is bordering on alarming, but very appreciated.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, Peter. Thanks, man. Take care.
Take care, sir.